are formidable.
I've waited for this moment.
Welcome to the motherfucking lady. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. It would appear that one of my favorite up-and-comers, Nayeli Rodriguez, otherwise known as La Bikina, will be taking on seasoned veteran Vellenga next month on the 14th at the El Paso County Coliseum as part of a King's Promotions show. On the rebound after what was her first professional loss to Mexico's own Bonita Fernandez, who proved to be a little bit too experienced for young Nayeli at 24 years old to her opponent, Marigüen, who is 44. 20 years older. Marigüen is coming off of a win, whereas Nayeli is coming off a loss scheduled for 8 rounds in the women's flyweight division. Flyweight, that is where Gabby Fundora currently reigns as that division's undisputed champion. That is where this contest is taking place. Nayeli sports a professional record of 6 wins with 1 loss and 1 draw, no recorded knockouts, having never been knocked out in 8 professional starts. To Marigüen Vellenga, who sports a professional record of 5 wins with 5 losses and 2 draws, 2 knockouts, having never been knocked out in 12 professional starts. Last in action in November of last year, opposite the ring, Liana Martinez, who she decisioned over 4 rounds. Been in there with some really good fighters, suffered 2 losses to Christina Cruz, another loss to Liana Cruz, and yet another loss to Catherine Linmuth. It's what makes Marigüen Vellenga a good acid test and a good rebound fight for Nayeli Rodriguez, that she is experienced and she's been in there with some really good fighters. It affords Nayeli the opportunity to get back in the winner's bracket and push somebody that can do some pushing back. Nayeli was last in action in November of last year, the same as Marigüen Vellenga, in the loss she suffered to Bonita Fernandez. So this is going to be the first fight of Nayeli Rodriguez's newly inked deal with King's Promotions. King's Promotions, a well-to-do local promotional outfit that does smaller shows here in the United States. They can be of service to Nayeli in the early stages of her boxing career, like they were of service to Alicia Baumgartner, because she was with them in the early days of her career. At this point, what is most important for Nayeli is activity, and King's Promotions can get her that. Help her line herself up for an alphabet title. It could be a while before she's ready to fight for one. By the time she is, I anticipate Gabby Fundora will have moved on and the belts will be redistributed, at which point it'll be easier for Nayeli to pick one up and become a world champion herself. She's a good boxer, good all-around boxer, knows how to move, knows how to punch, engage, disengage. Easy on the eyes. Yeah, she's a looker and that helps. Whether people like it or not, a fighter with a pleasing aesthetic is easier to sell. Do you think all these broads in America that just found out about Anthony Joshua and how he looks are at all concerned with his boxing? Wake up and smell the hormones. It applies to the women like it applies to the men. A fighter with a pleasing aesthetic is easier to sell. And Nayeli Rodriguez has a pleasing aesthetic with a sharp boxing acumen, so I anticipate a bright future for this young fighter. It also helps that she is a fighter of Mexican-American descent. We all know that the Mexican boxing fan greatly moves the needle in this country, so sporting the colors red, white, and green. Proud to see you're a Mexican, and you eat tacos like me. That also lends itself to Nayeli's marketability, so she's got a lot of good ingredients, a lot of good things working for her. And I look forward to seeing her ring return March 14th, where I anticipate she will win a points decision. Look for the ring return of Nayeli next month. Now it's time for another installment of what is fast becoming one of the more popular segments here on the channel. Not the Ring IQ hate mail, but the Ring IQ mailbag, which is a bit nicer. Guy who goes by the name Leaf Skull Smasher saw my recent video regarding Ryan's win over Mario Barrios, and he said, I still think Joe Goosen set up Barrios to lose. Barrios is no elite fighter, but damn, that was probably his worst performance. I think getting knocked out by Javante was a bit worse. He looked confused, and from what I heard, Goosen never gave him anything constructive during the fight to make changes. I'm still baffled by that choice of coach. It's hard for me to take a guy seriously who has hair like something about Mary and says the shill shit
that he says when defending the PBC robberies.
He's talking about Joe Goosen, but let me tell you something. How much advice could Joe have given Mario that would have made a difference? This is Mario Barrios we're talking about. You understand that, right?
It's not a guy you gotta set him up. And how would Joe Goosen have set him up? What, Joe told him to go out there and get hit with the same punch over and over again?
How'd he set him up?
Come on.
How'd he do it? He told him, hey, go out there and get punched in the fucking face.
You do that, or no ice cream on the way home.
And he listened? Oddly enough, Leaf Skull Smasher is not the only one who thinks Joe Goosen sabotaged Mario Barrios. Hall of Fame inductee Timothy Bradley said something similar.
Goosen, bro, how much did they pay you, dog? How much did they pay you, Goosen? For real, man. Damn, how you gonna sell out Barrios like that, bro? Barrio got boxing skills. You made this motherfucker look one-dimensional. Coming in, oh, you gotta pressure him. You gotta pressure him. No, bro, no. What did I say in the breakdown?
I don't know what you said in the breakdown, but I saw Mario Barrios' last two fights, and he didn't look any different in his last fight than he did the fight before that with a 46-year-old Manny Pacquiao. It's not Joe Goosen's fight to win or lose, that whatever he says in the corner would be so influential to Mario. It's up to Mario to win the fight, and Mario didn't win his last two fights, so now you're surprised when Ryan beats him?
It's gotta be a conspiracy?
Was it a conspiracy when Gervonta Davis beat him? Was it a conspiracy when Keith Thurman, who was coming off a 2-year hiatus, also beat him?
It's gotta be a conspiracy?
Did you see what old man Keith did to his nose? Looked like something out of Avatar.
I love you, Jack Sally.
Give me a fucking break overanalyzing Garcia versus Barrios. Barrios sucks. He's always sucked. He got a gift over Akhmadov, got knocked out by Gervonta, outpointed by Keith, drew with Ramos, drew with Pacquiao, and lost to Ryan. There are no mysteries here. There's not a fight to throw.
He's just bad.
Not a good fighter, never was. As a world champion, he was tantamount to a paperweight, a placeholder for the World Boxing Council until such a time as they could find a more popular fighter to give that title to. Before that, his only claim to fame was losing to Gervonta. On what premise are people rating Mario Barrios? Based on what?
Who the fuck did he beat?
Boxing is an unserious sport sometimes. Sometimes the stuff you hear, you just can't take it seriously. I don't even like Ryan Garcia, and I picked him to win that fight because that's how bad Mario is. So pardon me if I'm not given to the wild conspiracy theories regarding Joe Goosen's influence on Mario, claiming that he costed him the fight. How?
Was he distracted by Joe Goosen's denim?
I hadn't even been with Joe Goosen that long. You know, usually it takes a couple of fights for a fighter to settle in with a trainer to where when they get hit in the face, they revert back to what they know.
What the hell did Mario know except how to lose in every step-up fight they put him in?
So pardon me if I find it a bit silly that Timothy Bradley and some others think Joe Goosen is responsible for Mario Barrios' loss. I think you guys are overanalyzing it, overthinking it. The guy just sucks.
Elsewhere in the world of boxing, Zuffa recently unveiled an itemized list of names, fighters they've recently signed, many of which are the kind of fighters I expected them to sign. B and C tier fighters, some journeymen, some gatekeepers, some unknowns, some fringe contenders, and one or two big ones.
And so they are getting a lot done in a short amount of time. Content creator Hassan said most of these boxers signing to Zuffa are saying their main reason is because they have a guaranteed 3 to 4 fights a year.
Well, that's no small thing. That's job security.
And that is literally what I told you would happen, that at a time where the PBC doesn't have any fight dates, Top Rank is on unstable ground, and so is Golden Boy, the fighters are going to go wherever the fight dates are, because for them, that's job security. Now, people tend to think of the sport of boxing and its business practices through the lens of the top 2% or top 5% of fighters that actually have that luxury, when there are that many more boxers out there that don't. They don't know when they're going to fight next. They don't know when they're going to get the chance to make more money. Some of them have to take on other jobs.
And this is why I said that Zuffa could be good for a lot of boxers. It could provide them with more stability and more opportunities than the existing model, where they're basically just out there in a wilderness. Zuffa is giving them a home, a place to earn some money, and not only that, they are seeking the British Boxing Board of Control's backing for their new belt in what is a step towards legitimacy. They want to get their title recognized going through the proper channels.
So where initially I thought that Zuffa would primarily operate out of the United States, if they're going through the BBBOC, that means they mean to do business in the United Kingdom. Enough!
I mean, it's not just signing Conor Benn. They're going through the BBBOC for recognition, so I take it they plan on signing more British fighters, doing business in the region.
Stepping on to Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren's home turf, where they don't yet have the know-how that Frank and Eddie have, the relationships and the network connections, but they do have a lot of money.
And a lot of the time, that's enough.
Though I've yet to hear about any female fighters that Zuffa means to pick up. I remember that Dana White was asked about it, whether or not he would have female boxers fighting under Zuffa the way he's got female MMA fighters.
I haven't heard about any yet, haven't seen any.
Recently came across a report detailing how GBM, one of the smaller UK promoters' DAZN deal ended. Up until this point, GBM was doing their cards on the DAZN platform. Seeing that Zuffa is now endeavoring into the United Kingdom, I would not be at all surprised to see that same GBM pair up with Zuffa to give them access to their UK stable of fighters and put to use all their know-how in the region.
Eddie Hearn said he wanted to compete.
And this is what competition looks like. In a very short amount of time, Zuffa is getting a lot of things done on all fronts. They're signing fighters and forming relationships, throwing a bit of money around, throwing some weight around.
This is what competition looks like.
And what is the biggest story in boxing? Their recent acquisition of one of Matchroom's golden gooses, of which they've got a few, Conor Benn. Needless to say, I greatly underestimated what Zuffa would do once they were up and running. I really had it in my head they just wanted to sign the outliers, the fringe contenders, but as stated, you don't get Dana White, Nick Khan, and Turki El Sheikh to just sign the Callum Walshes of the world.
Get a team like that together, it's got to be for something big.
But this wasn't the average relationship with a contracted boxer. This was special. Conor was as close as he could have been to being part of the family, and for him to make a decision like this without even a phone call, or actually when Eddie suggested to him by text that they meet to discuss it, Conor suggested it's best to go through lawyers. And after 10 years of what we've gone through with him, I think in my 50-odd years of promoting sport, this is the most horrible, outrageous. I can't describe the feeling of when you've been let down. A lot of stick, our company reputation, our personal reputation, where we went to a guy that failed a drugs test twice and said, no, we believe in him. So we stood our corner, as I would always expect Matchroom to do. We got very high standards.
Yeah.
But those standards have not been reciprocated, and that's deeply upsetting. And maybe, did we get it completely wrong with him? Did we believe him when we shouldn't have done? We don't know any other way in our world, Ali. We love our fighters. There's no two ways about it. Look, I know it's a business. We make money, they make money. We've got a fantastic reputation globally. We've never really had a dispute with boxers so much like this. And this was in the heart. This was in the heart. And I expected so much more from Conor Benn. But obviously with the last Eubank fight, we couldn't have been in a better position. It's sad to think that Conor went off to America just to solicit offers and got a huge one. And by the way, good luck to him to get the money. But you don't disband a team. Even if you do, you don't do it by text or via lawyers.
I agree with Barry. That is far too impersonal for a team that stood by you for 10 years and built you. That everywhere that Conor Benn is now is as a result of Matchroom's promotion, because there is no guarantee that he would find himself in the same place earning the same money under somebody else's watch.
Nobody else but Matchroom deserves credit for that.
Standing by Conor Benn through what was his darkest time as he became a social pariah with the Chris Eubank Jr. fight dead in the water. I saw Simon Jordan on Top Sports suggest that the only reason that Matchroom fought so vehemently for Conor Benn was as a business decision.
They didn't do it out of the kindness of their heart.
Which I don't agree with, because at the time that all of this was going on, Matchroom had yet to receive a return on their investment in Conor Benn. He was not yet a massive draw. He had not yet generated a ton of money. It was through them standing by him that all of that happened when the Chris Eubank Jr. fight was dead in the water.
Chris, by all accounts, had moved on.
You're telling me that Matchroom weren't the ones who kept that fight alive by revisiting it?
That if nothing else, Eddie Hearn deserved a bit more than just an email, an impersonal email from not even Conor Benn himself, but from his attorney.
While his move to Zuffa Boxing comes with a massive $15 million purse for a single high-stakes appearance, there's no safety net if things go wrong in that debut. With his Matchroom bridge burned, the outcome of this one night will decide Benn's entire future in the sport.
The fighters that left Matchroom under less than amicable circumstances, searching for greener pastures, didn't exactly find them.
What came out of Lawrence Okolie crossing over to Boxer except him losing to CBS and, in effect, losing his WBO title?
What came out of Joshua Buatsi leaving Matchroom for Boxer, except him losing to Callum Smith?
What came out of Chantel Cameron leaving Matchroom for Queensberry? Under Matchroom, you at least saw her on a regular basis. She goes over to Queensberry, and it's like the ground swallowed her up. So there have been a few fighters that left Matchroom under less than amicable circumstances like Conor Benn left them.
Search of greener pastures, the grass isn't always greener on the other side.
It only looks that way from where you're standing. You get over there, don't be surprised if you step in shit along the way.
What kind of a parallel is that?
The kind that may apply to Conor Benn if things go sideways over at Zuffa, because over at Zuffa, he's just the pawn. He's just the fighter. They don't love him the way they loved him at Matchroom. At least at Matchroom, you know they would have backed you. In a pinch, will Zuffa, if things go sideways in his Zuffa debut,
Zuffa's gonna stand by him?
shaved off the hair on your ass and had it lasered to your face so you could grow a full beard.
Matchroom stood by you.
Got all those goddamn ugly tattoos that read like doodles on a teenager's math book.
Matchroom stood by you.
Grow your hair out. You pour peroxide in it like you're the real Slim Shady.
Look, kids, it's British Simon Phoenix.
Matchroom stood by you. But when the chips are down and you're in a pinch, is Zuffa gonna do that? $15 million is a lot of money, enough to convince a lot of people to change their decorum. But you're telling me that Conor Benn couldn't have made a comparable purse over, say, 2 fights at Matchroom
Without burning any bridges.
He's made himself a social pariah, an even bigger social pariah than when he popped hot for a banned substance. He's a Benedict Arnold. Say his deal with Zuffa is only for 1 fight, then after that he's at liberty to leave, but I don't think he's at liberty to go back to Matchroom. Not in the name of business, strictly business.
Matchroom.
They expected more from Conor. They expected better, now realizing they misjudged his character. Was he lying this whole time about the peds? Did he take something? He knew he took it.
Matchroom.
Broke away from Matchroom. I watched Boxing Beats and Rhymes' evaluation of it. It would appear that in doing so, he's also broken away from Tony Sims.
Burned a lot of bridges.
For what are short-term gains, and whether or not that was the right thing to do is a question that only time can answer. Only time will tell.